to the Fantasy Footballers DFS Podcast with your hosts, Kyle Borganoni and Matthew Betts.
Welcome in. October 6th. We're here at Fantasy Footballers DFS Podcast. I'm your host, as always, never missing a day, Kyle Borganoni, and I'm joined, Mike Wright's back.
The demand was overwhelming. The people were in the streets. They got a taste of what it's like to have the hitman on the DFS pod, and they said, we demand more.
They got a big shimmy on Tuesday.
Yes.
And, I mean, that was fine. That whet people's appetites. But I think what they really wanted was the OG back again.
Yep, they demanded it. And Matthew Betts selfishly needed some vacation time last week for a wedding. Look, also, I mean, these people having weddings in football season, banished from the land. To have a wedding over the weekend of the NFL season it's high treason, in my opinion, against humanity, to be fair. And then, so Matthew Betts, we're a kind organization at the Fantasy Footballers. We understand some people are dumb and they get married during the NFL season. And then Betts is like, I'm a little sick from my vacation.
Betts had a weekend. He turned 31 on Friday. Then he's gone, gets sick, comes home, and then he has to tell his wife. That's the part I feel bad. He's a little sick. He's got the Rona, but
it happens, man.
But I feel bad for Monica, his wife, because he gets to come home from being gone and saying, "Hey, I can't help with the twins. I have COVID."
I'm surprised he's alive.
She
in a house. I mean,
I know Monica definitely listens to every episode. She doesn't. But if she did, we props to you, Monica. Raising twins is not easy, and you're the real star of the show. You prop up Betts. I mean, he's just he's a corpse at this point.
Yes.
It's okay. We're not going to trash Betts anymore. He'll be back this next week, but we're glad you joined us.
He better be.
Or this podcast is...
or he may never be back at all.
Wow. Like a big we should give him an ultimatum.
Yeah.
People respond really well to those, by the way.
Yeah, humans, we love them.
It's week 5. We've got a great slate that Mike and I are going to break down. We'll talk about our cash picks, GPP, the games we want to stack. We'll prop it like it's hot. But if you want to get all of our picks, you can go to dfspass.com. Use the promo code DFSPod. As Jason talked about on Tuesday, you guys are the owners of this company. Do you realize that you are robbing people of what they could be paying way more? You could be charging.
We're not robbing people. We are
robbing.
We're the Robin Hoods.
The people should feel sorry for us.
No, it is a tremendous value each and every year, and then every year we always try and make it better. And now, I mean, there's a little dash of talking about prop bets in there as well. I mean, it's a good time.
We had someone last week that messaged me and they said, "Hey, that Rashad Penny prop that you guys had this past week,
home run. Let's check." Yes.
That in itself, they said, didn't just pay for that. I got to take my wife out to dinner. I got to do,
that's awesome, man. That's great.
It was great. And they said, now my bankroll is in a spot where I can play each week. I can play in, and that's what we want. We want people to build their bankroll, to play smart. Like, you don't want to play all of your stuff in GPP. So whether you had a bad week in cash like myself, I got to gain it all back because of that Rashad Penny, which will never hit again probably.
Yeah, but it was a great call at the time.
It felt really, really good.
I had a delightful week in cash because I played TJ Hawkinson.
I talked with Jason and said, because I played Jonathan Taylor and because I played David Njoku, who was fine.
Sure.
Then I was completely buried. But you can get all of our picks, DraftKings, FanDuel, in the DFS Pass. So go to dfspass.com, but let's talk about our cash picks.
Straight cash, homie.
Would you say, per NBA Jam rules, which is, basically the backbone of our shows, that you are now heating up being on the show twice?
That is a great point. And if I'm on fire, you better warn the world because
call my wife.
Again, I'll just repeat it. I better not be on this show next week or Matthew Betts will be looking for employment.
What's funny is that you and I talked last week at quarterback, and we're talking about the same two people this week At quarterback, Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts are the pay-up options, especially on FanDuel, but there is a very, very old man that is way too cheap this week.
I don't know how you do anything but play Tom Brady this week. 6,000 on DraftKings against the Atlanta Falcons. He historically crushes them. He will crush them again. His team is finally back. Evans is back from the suspension. He looked good to go this past week. The Rod God, we had a little bit of a shooketh moment where he was laying face down. He said that his back tightened up a little bit, but he got back in the game, and he was good to go. I mean, he's back. He's dirt cheap for what he could do on the field. I get it. Josh Allen every single week is very, very he's consistent. He's going to be great, but 8,200 or drop down to 6,000, save that quiche with Tom Brady and still have an incredible lineup.
Tom Brady is 10-0 in his career against the Falcons. Like, Atlanta fans, we all despise Brady because there's no chance we're ever going to beat him. Like, he's going to retire before he ever loses to this team. In 4 games versus Atlanta since becoming a Buccaneer, he's averaging 28 fantasy points per game, and that's not even including the DraftKings bonuses, where I think he's a good bet to get that 300-yard bonus. So Tom Brady is what you and I both have in our cash lineups right now. It's just too easy to make work, but I can't fault anyone for playing Josh Allen at home as a 14-point favorite. But I think we like that game more of, let's talk about that from a stacking perspective and, kind of the game theory portion. So Tom Brady's our pick right now and who we like.
And who knows, old man weather might show up, because we were very, very excited for the Buffalo Bills this past week.
That's true.
When we recorded, but we didn't know that a freaking monsoon was rolling through. Buffalo, man. But I guess it's a fair thing. It's a fair thing to the fantasy world that Josh Allen has to play in Buffalo, because it's just, he's too strong. He's too good for fantasy football. We have to have something come in and slow him down on occasion. And the only thing that can do that right now is, in fact, the earth.
The Dynasty League that you and I are in, where my team is undefeated.
Yes.
I have Josh Allen in that league.
That's got to feel good.
I have a Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs stack in that league.
That's got to feel even better.
You know what feels even better? I got Josh Allen, 2 years into that league, for Sam Darnold in a second.
This was
this is a long time ago.
This is before Josh Allen went into the training chamber and came out a brand new human.
It is one of my best feelings of my life to get the quarterback one in Dynasty and just know every single week. I don't even care who my backups are. It's Matt Ryan.
Right.
But
it doesn't matter.
It's Josh Allen every single week. So he's a great play this week. We'll talk about that game. At running back, one of the bigger values is Leonard Fournette at 6.9. But if you're playing Brady in your lineup, are you also playing Fournette? Because we like Godwin as well.
Yeah, I mean, 6.9 it's not bad. Some say it's pretty nice. But there are cheaper value running backs on there. Like James Robinson is at 6.3. I notoriously bet against James Robinson at any moment I feel like I can. That worked out very well last week. But this is you bet on James Robinson. He's going to destroy the Houston Texans.
Yeah, that's the dream matchup, and I think he's going to be one of the more popular running backs on the slate at 6.3. James Robinson's one of those running backs where if you have the right matchup and the right game script,
exactly,
he's going to smash. He's a good bet to get in the end zone. Also in that 6K range, it seems like Alvin Kamara is going to be healthy.
Oh, man.
And that is a juicy price.
Are you? Wow.
That price.
You really getting in on that?
I'm very interested I put it this way. I'm pretty much going to be playing Kamara or Olave in my cash lineup.
Okay. Olave I can get behind. In the Fantasy Footballers Listener League, 14-teamer, my running backs are Alvin Kamara and James Conner.
So it's been doo-doo.
That team has 0 wins because Alvin Kamara has been terrible. Are you really ready to get back with him on a roster?
So it's Seattle, and it's the price.
I understand that, but he's been garbage.
Do you remember, I think it was a Monday night game last year. It was against Seattle, and he had 15 catches. It was something ridiculous like that against Seattle. I get it. It's not comfortable, but I think that...
No, it is not.
But I think on a PPR site, if Michael Thomas is out, do we know Landry's practice status right now?
I do not know. I can look that up.
If both of those guys are out, I think Kamara's even more interesting, but he's a value. I'll say that. 6.6, he's a value. The other cheap names this week, Khalil Herbert, because Dave Montgomery just doesn't want to show up to work anymore.
Weird.
At 5.9 against Minnesota, I think he's just plug and play, great price. And then our boy, my name is Jeff. 5.5K.
Dude.
It is cheap.
Oh, my 55 button didn't work. Does yours work?
Let me see if I can get you.
Oh, man.
We got somebody sleeping in back there right now.
There's no captain at the helm right now. 55. So I'll throw it in there. Also, Jarvis Landry was limited yesterday, so probably on pace to pay. But, dude, Jeff Wilson, he is everything for this San Francisco 49er team. They want to establish it. Even the scary matchup against the Rams last week, that touchdown run. I mean, what did he hit, like 25 miles an hour? He was the fastest man I've ever seen in my life.
Jeff,
he looked great.
It's weird. It's weird that you have a running back that undrafted, but I feel like he's getting better.
Yes.
I feel like he's getting better and that you can trust him, where obviously you couldn't trust Elijah Mitchell to stay healthy. But at 5.5, that's too cheap. We're going to be talking about him later because I really like his prop for his rushing yardage. But Carolina is boo-boo. They're just – did you see the headline about Ben McAdoo?
No. Do tell.
They quoted him today, which we trashed Ben McAdoo on Tuesday's podcast. So figured let's do it here.
That's probably because he's very bad at his job.
He said, they quoted him today saying, "They brought me here to make an impact. I haven't done that yet."
Okay. Well, that's good for you, Ben. Own up to it, because when I watch, look, the Carolina Panthers, it's an absolute disaster right now. It is difficult to fully assess, though, what is going on, because when you're a casual fan watching this game, Baker Mayfield looks like absolute crap. He looks like one of the worst quarterbacks, if not the worst quarterback in the NFL right now. But when you kind of zoom out and you look at what's going on with the play calling and these wide receivers, I mean, no one is getting schemed open. You have DJ Moore, who he's not as fast as Tyreek Hill, but DJ Moore is one of the fastest players in the NFL. And you're saying you don't know how to get him open? Like, everything is difficult for the Carolina Panthers. So I'm not, certainly I will not put the cape on for Baker Mayfield. It's impossible to do that at this point. But I do think he is getting a raw end of the deal because his coaches are not setting anybody up for success. And Baker doesn't have the talent to rise above it. And he's just everything, but it all starts at the top. And I think that Rule and McAdoo are destroying everyone's value in Carolina.
Did you see the over-under in that game? We're going to talk about it on tomorrow's.
No, I have not.
It's at 39 right now.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So at running back, those are kind of our top choices on FanDuel. I do want to bring up Dalvin Cook at 7.3. I think he's mispriced.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
And then the Patriots running backs. Now, I know Damian Harris is your start of the week.
I like him.
But there's a huge gap in price. 7.2 on FanDuel. And reminder, Stevenson, 6K. Are you interested in Stevenson at kind of that basement price on FanDuel?
Yeah, between those two prices, I think I was just looking at on DK, they're like $100 apart.
Right.
So that is interesting that they think that Harris is that much more valuable than Stevenson. If I lean the Harris side, but for 1.2 of your salary, you got to go Stevenson.
Yeah, I think FanDuel, they are very quick to price up certain players. Like Miles Sanders is almost like unplayable now. He's like 7,800. There's just so many players that they get to a point on FanDuel, like where Dameon Pierce is like one of the top like 6 most expensive running backs.
Right.
You don't get the same value. At wide receiver, we mentioned Chris Olave. He's our boy, 5.7. And I feel like, I know I was an early adopter. I feel like you were basically second on the train of saying this guy's going to be good. But I feel like Andy and Jason are now like fully in Chris Olave's the dude.
Oh, yeah. And Chris Olave is absolutely the guy. It doesn't help for Andy that when you draft a rookie and they hit, that's your boy. That's your boy forever. But the targets, the air yards, everything is there. Olave is he's an absolute stud. My bold prediction from the Phoenix Live show looking mighty nice of Olave being that number 1 wide receiver for the Saints. he is that dude already. And at 5.7?
Yep.
Against the Seattle Seahawks? Yeah, all right. Okay. I'm in on that.
We have him right now projected in the top 5 most popular wide receivers, and I don't care, obviously, in cash. If you knew Jameis was in, like if you knew, does that like take his ceiling up even further?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see that, but that's going to be a fun game. We're not detailing that one, but Seattle's defense is trash. Who are the wide receivers in your cash lineup? We talked about Chris Godwin.
Yes, I mean that it absolutely starts with the Rod God, Chris Godwin, 5.9, because he's been hurt. I mean, he has not been producing just because he's been off the field, but he in his first game back. Well, I'll pull up the line, but he surprised me that he was essentially a full-time player.
And he saw 10 targets.
That's what I was looking for. 10 targets. He played 83% of the snaps, again, missed some time because he got a little shook there. But for him to come back off of the ACL, like it looked like week 1. It was going to be all systems go for Chris Godwin, which felt like way too early to return for the ACL, but looked like all wheels up for him. Then the hamstring injury kind of derails things, and it was just right back. It was right back into Chris Godwin is a fully featured guy. Evans gets the headlines because the dude pulls down 2 touchdowns, but you do not sleep on 10 targets at, 5.9K against the Falcons? It's delicious.
As a Falcons fan, I have so many memories the last couple of years of Godwin just annihilating it, just like not even close. So yeah, the Buccaneers are going to roll. When we were doing that matchup today, it shocked me that those two teams have the same record, the Falcons and the Buccaneers at 2-2. I mean, different opponents.
I mean, because Arthur, he's got a plan, and that plan is we win games without using our best players.
That is not my plan. My plan is to go 4 wins or less and get CJ Stroud or somebody else at quarterback. Like, that's what I want.
He's blowing it.
By winning. Dang it. I will say that there's parts of the Falcons that I've they're competitive. Like they're competitive games, and you like to see that from your team. But Marcus Mariota needs to leave right now. At wide receiver this week, if you're paying down at running back, like you can afford some more expensive options. Justin Jefferson, if you want to, Tyreek Hill, you can get up to Cooper Kupp at 9.6 against the Cowboys. I know it's expensive, but Cooper Kupp's metrics are better than what they are last year. He's on pace to shatter the receptions record. So are you paying up in cash?
Personally, I'm paying down slightly because Stephon Diggs is at 8.4. He was in the rain. It was a nasty game. I mean, Josh Allen came through with a fine fantasy performance in the matchup against the Ravens, but no skill players hit in that matchup, including Stephon Diggs. And at 8,400 against Pittsburgh, who their defense is just falling apart, I think that Diggs has a big bounce back week, so I'll save some cash and go down to him.
So Kupp, Diggs, Jefferson, they're all
in play though because of you can save money so many places right now.
CeeDee Lamb, I think, is a great value at 7K. He's the only wide receiver to see 8+ targets in every single game.
Makes sense. What if fantasy football is such a funny place, man? You go into the season with the Seattle Seahawks and Geno Smith is their quarterback. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, they're dead to us. There's no way that Geno can manage to consistently supply one of them with fantasy value. And here they both are, being great because Geno Smith is apparently good, better than Russell Wilson. And then week 1, the disaster. Dak Prescott gets hurt. CeeDee Lamb, what do people do? People fire sales in the streets of please just take CeeDee Lamb off of my roster. And he's been great. He's not been fine. He's been great.
For one of the few times in my life where I'm the type of person just like you. I will dig my heels in. I will say, and that backfires. Amon-Ra. But CeeDee Lamb was somebody I had on my home league team, and then I traded for him in another league where I said,
you went in.
I went in because I could get him at a cheaper price, and it's worked out pretty well. But 7K, the Rams are weird because they have the big names, but they are getting torched in the secondary.
Yes.
So I think he's a safe play at 7K. I do want to give some cheap names, and you can tell me if this is gross or not, but every week we usually like to punt one position. Is it tight end? Is it a cheap receiver? So this isn't quite in punt territory, but Rondale Moore at
4.1. Save yourself the pain.
What if I told you I think Rondale Moore will be in the top 6 or 7 most popular receivers of the week?
That's what? Against the Eagles?
I think people will look at that game total, which we'll talk about, and they'll say, I want a piece, and I can get Rondale Moore at 4.1 compared to Hollywood, and just want a piece of that game, and he's the cheapest option.
Yeah, but it's like going to a fine restaurant, and there's all this incredible food, and you're like, I will take the skeleton of the fish, please, because it's cheap. And then it's still an already eaten fish, and it's just gross, and there's nothingness. There's nothing there.
You missed the Dortch, is what I'm hearing.
Oh, yeah. Rondale Moore, all he did was come in and destroy the value of the Dortch. He provided no value himself.
Rondale's 4.1, so I at least need to mention him as a salary saver.
I would go Khalil Shakir of the Buffalo Bills at 3,200, even with an active Isaiah McKenzie. I would go that route over Rondale Moore.
Yeah, Shakir's probably going to be, I mean, we don't have practice report right now about McKenzie, but Shakir's going to be a great play at 3,200. I liked him coming out of college, and I liked what he looked like this past week.
5th round?
Yep,
Is that right? Yeah.
Out of Boise State. Another name, this is another former Cardinal. I'll throw out Trent Sherfield
Sure, why not?
If Jalen Waddle misses. He's been the guy getting the snaps. He saw, let me see this. He saw 6 targets this past week. So it's at least another punt name to monitor.
Right. Yeah, that's not too bad.
But Shakir's probably the better play across all formats. And then I'll throw out 2 FanDuel ones. I mentioned on Tuesday, Deebo Samuel at 7.3 is egregious. Like I would say that FanDuel did a terrible job pricing him there because of his role.
They got him priced like just above Damian Harris.
They buried him. I mean, he was in the Monday night game, so we got that old glitch once again. But 7.3 is way down there. And then Drake London, if you're gonna bring somebody back from the Falcons side, it's Drake London at 6.2. So he's a value on FanDuel. Let's finish with these last 2 positions. Tight end. Feel like it's a week to save since we don't have Kelsey or Andrews, and maybe people keep chasing Hawkinson. Where are you leaning on tight end?
Right now, so I have built my lineup for the Fantasy Face-Off segment on tomorrow's Fantasy Footballers podcast. I am going ultra punt. Go with O.J. Howard of the Houston Texans, 2,600. He took over the main starting job and ran the most routes. This matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars, expect that Houston will need to throw. This is a steel underpants move because this could blow up in your face. Brevin Jordan could be the main guy yet again, but when you're going to punt a position, he was at least running routes and he got some targets as well. And you have the week 1 where it was 2 targets, 2 big touchdowns, so it's like, you at least know that can happen.
No, trust me, I'm all about a really, really cheap punt play of just, hey, I don't really care. Give me 4 points. I'm fine with it. 5 points because I'm going to save elsewhere. Well, they did release Pharaoh Brown, so at least there's more opportunity there. There's really not a lot of great plays like in the elite tier. You really are spending Njoku at 3.8. I think Higbee's a great play at 4.3.
Just a PPR machine. Or BBR, as I refer to him on the Slack channel.
Really?
It's not great, but I did it. And now I shared it with all of our listeners.
It'll be a thing. We have Higbee on our team, Mike and I's League of Record team.
It's great.
I am shocked that we have just said, let's roll with it, and he's been great.
How does it possibly stop? Does Allen Robinson suddenly get good?
No, Stafford doesn't look at him.
He should not.
Higbee.
He says, look away, I'm hideous.
Higbee 4.3. The Muth, I think, is a fine play at 4.1.
What? No.
I think he's a fine play if people are stacking that Buffalo side and they want to bring it back with somebody cheap. I think would you rather play the Muth or Dawson Knox?
Well, Dawson Knox is banged up. He's missing practice.
He needs to get it together.
He's out, but is Njoku really 3.8?
Yep.
Oh, Njoku infinitely over the Muth. Yeah, a rookie quarterback in Buffalo.
It's bad.
I like Kenny. I think he's an interesting player. he could turn into a starter. Not this week.
I've been looking at Penny Kickett. Has been another way I've been looking at his name too.
Ooh, Penny Kickett?
Yeah, just switching the P and the K.
I was there.
I feel like we haven't formalized who he is yet to us. He will be something more.
He needs to reveal himself.
And he will in time. On FanDuel, it's Tyler Higbee, 5.5. That is a great price for him. And then on defense, I don't know how you don't play the Cowboys.
Yes, sir. That's who I got in.
They're going to be by far the most popular defense.
Their price doesn't make sense. What happened here on DK? 2.5.
So they set that price before Monday night because the Rams, we're still playing, right? Rams and 49ers was.
Oh, is that what happened? Yeah.
But still, like, even before that game, you knew that this was going to be a matchup with the Cowboys. I mean, they're on the road, but everything says they're a great play. They're going to be.
What's our sack floor here? 3?
I mean, it's got to be at 3-4. Like Stafford had 7 on Monday night.
Yeah. I mean, that offensive line is putrid.
So Dallas, if you really want to pay up, San Francisco against Baker is laughable. If you want to do that.
How much does that cost?
It's 3.8.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it was just the matchup that I was like, oh gosh, if you want to pile on like 10 sacks, Nick Bosa is unstoppable right now. So you can do that. All right, before we get into the games, let's take a quick break. All right, we're going to talk about the games that we want to stack. And, Mike, I got 4 games for us today.
All right, hit 4.
4.
The Quattro.
Hit
me.
Let's get into it.
Stack Attack.
First game we're going to talk about is your Arizona Cardinals at home, surprisingly.
Reluctantly, still my Cardinals.
2-2.
It's a house of cards, man. It's going to fall apart.
Do you feel
with
better?
One big sneeze.
Do you feel better about your Cardinals? So your Cardinals are 2-2. My Falcons are 2-2.
Right.
We both hate our teams, but who would you feel better about in terms of the process of the franchise? Like where they're at, their hope for the future.
The Falcons.
Okay.
The Cardinals are locked in. Everything that the team has right now, locked in. Steve Keim, their GM, that guy sucks, but they extended him. Cliff Kingsbury is not an offensive genius. He sucks, but he's locked in. Kyler has all the tools to be an elite franchise quarterback, but he needs coaching. He desperately needs coaching, and I don't think he'll ever get it.
They could have an outlier year, like I'm speaking as a Falcons fan, where we had Kyle Shanahan as our offensive coordinator, and Matt Ryan had an MVP season. We made it all the way to the Super Bowl, lost the Patriots, but I think that's in the realm of possibility for that team. I do think, though, that there's a couple other pieces that they need. So they're stuck in mediocrity forever.
Yes, I think so.
And this week, they happen to play the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. This line right now, according to DraftKings Sportsbook, is Philadelphia minus 5.5, and the over-under is 49.
On the road, 5.5. It's disrespectful.
So from a pace standpoint, we like this game, right? We like Philadelphia.
Yes, it makes sense.
Now, I read stats and I write a pace of play article, but every single week when I talk about Arizona, because they show up a lot in these kind of games, they rank number 1 in no huddle rate, but they always mess it up and get so many delay of game penalties. So does it even matter?
That's a very good question. Does it matter because they don't huddle, but they still take all the time off?
Their stats are weird.
That's funny.
They're fast. Like they're like, all right, let's go. But then they have these penalties that it just ends up offsetting it. So I don't know. The Cardinals are a team that you can get some sneaky value. Like their options are not that expensive in DFS. So if you're stacking the Hurts side, like you're saying, I want Hurts and AJ Brown, which is probably going to be the most common.
Sure.
Who would you bring it back with on the Cardinals side in a stack?
Honestly, the only people in play for me, Kyler, if you hate yourself and you're good with one half of good football, you go with Kyler Murray. Hollywood Brown, his target share has been absolutely outrageous. He's averaging 11 targets a game. That's fantastic. But it's with Hollywood, or you go to Ertz. You pay up $4,800. You hope that Ertz, who has had 6 catches in 3 straight games, you're hoping that he hits, 8 to 10 this week. But I understand all of the externals say Rondale should be in play, James Conner should be in play, but like Conner is not. He's not getting the pass catching work that we thought he would get, and like. As a Cardinal fan, when they gave him that ridiculous contract for an old man running back who was terrible on the ground last year, that's fine because he was great through the air. Like, he was truly elite. It's not happening this year. And I don't know if he's banged up because last week in particular, I think the game like started with Darrell Williams and Eno Benjamin getting most of the run. So Connor is very scary to me this week.
The hard thing about the Cardinals is they just don't sustain drives, especially, weirdly enough.
Not in the first half.
The first half. I wrote this up in Pace of Play. I was like, this is a team that you do not want to check your lineups if you have them in the first half because it will be gross and they'll likely be trailing, but I think there can be some goodness. Hollywood's expensive, though. He's like keeps moving up in price from when we were playing him, week 1 and week 2. So, yeah, it's probably Hollywood or Ertz, and I'll probably stay away. If Rondale's going to be popular, then you fade him in tournaments. I think that's kind of my stance.
He'll be like the popular kid in school, but actually he brings nothing to the table. He's just kind of there.
His MySpace blew up one time.
Yeah, and you're like, why is this guy popular? You're like, and no one knows. No one has the answer. Is he a big time? Is he good at like the star quarterback on the team? No. Is he like high up in the theater? Like, is he the star of the stage? No. He's just there, and no one knows what he's doing.
He's done nothing in his career so far.
Correct. But Andy Isabella was waived, so maybe there's. Gosh.
Does it hurt even more that he was waived, or is it kind of like I can move on from wasting a pick that could have been DK Metcalf?
He was waived years ago in my heart, so I moved on.
I think AJ Brown was taken like right ahead of him in that draft too. Like
it was very close, but the DK Metcalf that still hurts.
Zach Ertz does have a revenge game, if that means anything to you, but he's such a nice guy. I think he loves the Eagles.
It's not in his heart.
He's probably still an Eagle in his heart.
Yeah, we saw how sad he was when they traded him.
Let's
get away from this game, please.
All right, I just want to ask one more question. Devonta Smith, down week after blowing up a couple weeks ago. Do you feel like the field is going to forget about that? Are they going to like? I'm seeing him like under 5% rostered in.
Then I would do it. I would get in on Devonta Smith.
Yeah, I think that there's ways to get different in this game. Despite it being a high total, you can stack Hurts with Devonta. You can play Goddard instead of Ertz. I think Ertz is going to be more popular in general. But
I don't hate it.
So, next game, Los Angeles Chargers at the Cleveland Browns. I'm excited about this one because we know what these teams want to do. We know Cleveland wants to run the ball. We know that they don't really do 3 wide receiver sets. It's really clear. You're playing Chubb or Hunt, and you're playing Amari Cooper, and then Njoku's a great play as well. On the Chargers side, last week we kind of saw a ceiling, which I feel like I was worried the first 3 weeks. Like, are we going to get these ceiling games from this team?
Right.
But you saw Eckler with the 3 TDs. I had a couple stacks last week where it was Herbert and Eckler, and that's what I stacked from that game.
Wow. I mean, that's Stonesy.
Give me the touchdowns.
Because Eckler still kind of freaks me out.
Yeah, it was in a tournament, and it felt like I got to gain something back. I had Penny in that lineup. I had Hawkinson. Like, I had a lineup that went places, and then I think I finished in the cash, but it didn't finish there. Where are you looking on the Chargers side? Because I feel like the Cleveland side, it's like I'm just going to pick a running back if I'm stacking this game.
Yeah, like I said, Austin Eckler still kind of concerns me. They were, on our show, he talked about, when we were questioning him about the goal line, and like Eckler has this line of when he's talking to his coaches of like he's got to shoot threes, essentially. Like he's got to hit the home run from further back, and he did multiple times. But that's, you got to trust in the analytics of that's not something that happens every single week. And even before that week, he was just so putrid. So perhaps something clicked. And the Chargers figured out what they were doing wrong. I'm not going to put that past them, but to go right back in and be like, "Yep, Austin Eckler's perfectly fine." 7,800, I think, is too rich for me to go get back into there. So I would go if I'm stacking in this game. I'd be basic. I'd go Mike Williams. So I don't think that Keenan Allen's going to play after last Thursday being walked off the field with a trainer because of the hamstring. Their mum is the word over there right now in Keenan Allen. We're not hearing a lot. So I'll go with Big Mike. I'll chase that big money with the Herbs and Williams stack.
Big Mike last year against these Browns, 8 for 165 and 2. There you
go.
That is juicy. And I will say this about Austin Eckler, just a little bit of rebuttal. If Keenan's out, he's getting the targets. I mean, he's leading the league running back targets.
Yes, his floor is safe, but I think that like chasing his ceiling is not. I don't know. It's not there for me right now.
It's hard to project with Eckler because his carries aren't normal, and you're going to get some Sony Michel, you're going to get some other work, but what did the Falcons do to these Browns last week?
Sure, they ran it all over them.
So maybe it's one of those things where Eckler scores, but then you see Michel or you see something else. But we love this game. These two teams I mentioned on Tuesday, they played in a shootout last year, 47-42, where Baker actually like put up points when he was Baker. I love Kareem Hunt's price in this game. Look at it on FanDuel. He's $5,900. He's actually cheaper on FanDuel than he is DraftKings.
When did you? Okay,
I know.
So, is this just a complete? Is this a rubber band snapback? Because you had the off-season kerfuffle with Jason Moore of you were simply highlighting.
Yes, thank you.
That in his current contract, if the Browns wanted out from Kareem Hunt, they could do so for $0, right?
And I was just pointing that out as a fact.
And this blew up. It became a whole thing and a whole bit during the offseason on the footballers. And Kareem Hunt, clearly still on the team. We draft him in our league of record, and we have to make start-sit decisions every week because we have this very deep team. And every week, I'm like, okay, should we play all these guys? You're like, we got to play Kareem. Get Kareem in our lineup. And I'm like, whoa, Kyle. Settle down. I don't know when you became the world's #1 Kareem Hunt fan for fantasy football, but here you are, it's week 5, and you are still pounding the table. Get Kareem Hunt in your cash lineup.
Listen, I love Nick Chubb. I'm not gonna say anything against him. He's really expensive on FanDuel, like where he's the most expensive running back. So that
he deserves it. That
price gap though is over the top, $3,500 cheaper. Like there's a percentage chance. I'm going to lower it. There's a 25 to 33% chance that Hunt has a better game than Chubb.
That was week 1, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to take that in a tournament, get the savings in a game that we really like. We like the environment. So I just wanted to point out his price is...
Yes, we know you want to point out how
wrong.
Good Kareem Hunt is and how he's better than Nick Chubb. You're saying that all the time.
I want to stack this game. This is the game I think this week. If you're not stacking Tom Brady's side, in that game,
So if you're looking like a true GPP contrarian stack, how are you not looking at DPJ there, Donovan Peoples-Jones, who actually he was the guy. If through 4 weeks now, it seems like Jacoby Brissett has David Njoku, seems pretty safe, but between Cooper and Peoples-Jones, it's just one of them. Peoples-Jones monster week 1. Involvement and targets a monster week 4, not huge production, but he was the guy while Cooper disappeared.
I love him as a dart throw.
Okay.
He is an air yards phantom where he gets them the week before, and then the next week you go, look what he did last week, and then he will never show up again. He hangs out with MVS. They are because they're hyphenated brothers.
Okay.
There's a lot of hyphenated guys like
there is.
Juju Smith-Schuster, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Valdez-Scantling. They're collecting them in Kansas City, all the hyphenated guys. But I think you can play DBJ in a tournament. Cooper is showing up pretty low in our roster percentage report. Obviously more expensive, but you can go there if people aren't playing him. He has a ceiling. But Njoku last year, 7 for 149 and 1 against these Chargers.
Love it.
So I think this game has a lot of pieces, and we really like it a lot. Let's blaze through this next one. It's my Atlanta Falcons at Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Because you just want to stack all the Bucks?
I do.
I mean, if this is a game you want to stack in, I mean, you're not playing Mariota. Wait, okay, DraftKings, baby. Marcus Mariota, who had 7 completions last week, is 5,400. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, who just had a monster game this past week because the weapons are back, is 6,000. You're telling me there is a $600 DraftKings gap between Tom Brady and Marcus Mariota this week.
There's an employee out there, and we're not trying to get them fired, but this is what I think happened. They didn't stay up and watch the Sunday night game.
Okay.
Their one job for DraftKings was to set Tom Brady's price. They didn't do it, and then on Monday the prices roll out, and there it is at $6K. So
there has to be some explanation, so we'll go with that one.
Yeah, whoever they are, I'm really sorry you just lost your job. I think it's going to be really simple. People are going to stack Brady. They're going to double stack him. They're going to go with Godwin and maybe one other option. We said earlier Fournette's a really good value. They might even get cute and chase Rachaad White, who I think is interesting in redraft. I think it's kind of impossible to figure out here for DFS, but I'm not really chasing anyone else on the Falcons side other than Drake London, especially with Kyle Pitts out, likely out. Who knows? But yeah, I think it's a really simple game. I think they're going to roll. And if people want to chase Tyler Algier at 4,700, do it. You might get 4 or 5 catches and maybe falls in the end zone. But
I think he's good. I think he's a good running back. He's a big, strong, tough guy. But the Buccaneers are also very large and strong and tough guys on the defensive side of the football. Clyde ran on him.
If Algier,
freaking tiny Clyde Edwards-Helaire got it done.
People love that price. Anytime there's a new running back
in
DFS, people want to play him. So that's why I have some apprehension. But let's say Tyler Algier got 5 catches and he ended up with 60 total yards. I think that's possible. And falls in the end zone. You would be very happy with that.
Yeah, you'd be happy with that.
So I think this game is pretty straightforward. Let's do one more. This is another onslaught game. It's Buffalo Bills at home against the Steelers. The line's 14 points. That's massive. I looked this up. 14-plus point home favorites. Since 2000, they've won 90% of the time. So just put it. I think we looked at the money line.
Yeah, it was like minus 950 or something, which is if you're not in that world. So minus 950 means you bet 100 and you win what, $9.50? Yeah,
you're basically gonna gain $10.
Don't do it. That is not 90%. That's a great number, but no.
Kenny Pickett is going to be sacrificed. Rookie quarterbacks against Sean McDermott. Average 57% completion percentage and 165 passing yards.
McDermott, way too high T to let a rookie quarterback do anything.
So it's real simple. Josh Allen, and you're figuring out who you're stacking. Obviously, Diggs is the best choice. Gabriel Davis is a tease.
Yeah, it's strange. It's strange what's going on with him.
Did you see his targets per out run?
Yeah, it's miserable.
The only person that he's done better than is Paris Campbell, who's barely in the NFL. If I felt bad even writing Paris Campbell's name next to him.
9.7% of Gabe Davis's routes he gets a target. That's atrocious. That is embarrassing. Gabe Davis, you should be embarrassed. And if targets are what we believe, which is they are an earned statistic, that means you're bad. That means you're bad. If you're on the Buffalo Bills and you're not earning targets, you're not good.
Betts did put a note in here about his ankle and said that he thinks he's much healthier this week, that there is some reason for optimism. It's just crazy because you would think he would be eased back in. I know they don't have a ton of wide receivers, especially now with Crowder out, but he was out there. He was running routes.
Yeah, he was running way more snaps than Stephon Diggs.
So any other takes on this game? Like Singletary, it worked 2 weeks ago when you were trying to stack that game. You said, I just want Singletary, and I'm not stacking the Allen side. I just have a hard time.
Not at the price point. At the 6,100 on DraftKings, that's too much for when you're hoping that it's a competitive game so we can get Singletary some catches.
There's just so many other players near that price. We talked about James Robinson at 6,300.
Oh yeah.
It's just way easier. So if you're stacking this game and you had to bring it back with somebody on the Pittsburgh side, is it Pickens?
I guess targeted 31% of his routes this past week. He was Pickett's homeboy. When Kenny Pickett got in, he looked towards George Pickens. My theory of backup quarterback, backup wide receivers. It feels like it's just anecdotal, but I've had success with that, where because they practice together. They get more reps, so it makes sense. I don't want to do any of that. I'm not paying $6,100 for Deontay this week. Definitely not. And so I guess, yes, the dart throw would be George Pickens. What's Chase? Is Chase Claypool priced? Like, do they give you salary back if you're willing to play Chase Claypool?
I didn't put his price in here because I felt like I need to look it up.
It's positive. They do not take money away from your salary. They give you an extra $500.
I did write a note in here about Chase Claypool.
Your note is he wears a Pitt jersey.
That's it. He wears a Pittsburgh jersey. That's it. That's all he does. Just runs around out there.
The career trajectory of Chase Claypool is just sadness. How do you do that as a rookie? And then you vanish.
I can't look it up right now, but I wrote an article after his rookie year putting context around him having double-digit touchdowns?
Yes. I've done that statistic too, and the list is so minimal. And they're all elite. But not Claypool. No, that guy.
This is a game
sadness
where it's okay. I need to tell people like DFS theory, it's okay to not have somebody from the Steelers side. I think people feel like because we talk about game stacking, I need to play some, Bill's side, and Steelers will have some comeback points, and you might get that. It's also okay just to remove yourself. Remember in week 2, the Bills annihilated the Titans. It was like 41-7. It was just, there was nobody you wanted on the Titans side. So I think it's okay just to move on.
If you want to stack, go Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and Khalil Shakir.
And just move on from there.
Yes.
All right, one more segment.
Prop it like it's hot.
In the DFS Pass, every single week, we have a prop section where Betts and myself get to give you some interesting wagers, some over and unders that we think will hit. And I did get some news earlier that Evan McPherson was at practice today.
Oh, man. That line has not been available. Does the cash cow, our big daddy E, does he come through with a 1.5 with the groin injury? I'm scared.
I feel like we should take the Tucker line. The Tucker line in that same game is 1.5.
Yeah, I'll probably have to go with that one. This is not the week. Let Evan prove that he's good to go.
Yeah, let him heal up. All right, so we just talked about this game. Give me a prop that you like. This is a Steeler that I feel like as a whole we've been down on this year, and it doesn't look good this week.
Deontay Johnson, 52.5 receiving yards. I will take the under. We quoted those quarterback numbers for rookie quarterbacks against Sean McDermott, and that's like every target would have to go to Deontay Johnson. Every single target for him to hit this over, I believe.
When Kenny Pickett came in last week, the number 1 and 2 targets for him, I know it's a small sample size, were Pickens
and the Muth.
Yeah. So if he's not getting targets, like if he's not getting 8 or 9, it's really hard. He's never been a big yardage guy. So I like that a lot. His last 2 meetings, Betts put this in here, against Buffalo, 4 for 40 and 5 for 36. You might get that same kind of game this week.
Right. And that was not a rookie quarterback.
Right. So I'm going to go with Jeff Wilson. We mentioned him earlier.
Jeff.
His line is at 66.5 when we took it. It's gone up a little bit. I've seen
How many carries do you think he needs? 4 carries to get there?
Jeff needs 1.
Yeah, baby.
Take him to the house. Now, Jeff Wilson, I think, is a great play. Carolina's allowing 114 rushing yards per game, and there's nobody else in that backfield. Usually they'd kind of siphon it off. Last year, like JaMychal Hasty was the passing downs back. I mean, they're not really using anyone else. Jeff's the dude right now.
Well, yeah, as long as Ty Davis Price is still hurt, then it's going to be all Jeff Wilson.
So take that over. I think it's moving in a good direction. So I like that a lot. That's in. I'm giving people a tease. This is actually in our prop section, giving them free content.
Ooh,
and that's what they like.
It's generous.
I know. You can go to ballersdfs.com if you want to play with us in our DraftKings League, Fantasy Footballers DFS, Borg plus bets every single week. We have a giant tournament that you can be a part of this week. We have a 600-person contest. 2 weeks ago, I got 12th in that, Mike.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I didn't win any money, though. I don't think.
Oh, that is.
I think we had a top 10 that week was who cashed.
That's brutal.
It was pretty bad. But you can play against us. We also open up some other contests, including Battle the Borg, where you get to face off against me.
Battle the Borg?
Yeah.
What is this all about?
It's a 10-person tournament where it's me.
Okay.
and just 9 other people.
That's very exclusive.
It's a very exclusive group, and I win often. So it makes me feel better about what I do because I only have to beat 10 people as opposed to like 600.
I mean, if it's going to be called Battle the Borg, you better be taking that thing down like 80% of the time.
Now, I do battle the bets and just to like stomp on bets right now.
Yeah.
It's not a curb stomp, but if I'm going to stomp on bets,
right,
he loses that thing a lot. So if you want to do that.
Well, does he even show up? Because lately he just doesn't show up to stuff.
We do have to talk before I open the contest and say, hey, I'm about to open this up because I've done Battle the Borg before where I didn't even get in my own contest. It filled up too fast. So people were battling and I wasn't even there. So if you want to play with us, go to ballersdfs.com. Get to play with us. Great contest to invite your friends, first timers. It will be just great. Mike.
Kyle.
You're a 2-timer, man. You are the guy here.
I am a big time. I'm a big time personality. Thank you for having me, Kyle.
All right, everybody have a good weekend.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers DFS Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at www.thefantasyfootballers.com.